Welcome back to Locked In. We are filming on set at Dazed Cannabis at Union Square. So excited for this episode. Thank you to the team at Dazed Cannabis for making this episode possible. And shout out to Tyson and the Tyson 2.0 team and Woo Energy, Ric Flair. Grab yours today for sponsoring the show. And huge shout out to my man Lefty right here.
How you doing?
Who is on set. We're doing, this is like one of your first like official interviews.
The platform.
Super excited to have you on. And at the top of the show, I just want to plug in your merch, which I'm wearing now too.
Whitetail clothing.
This is sick, man. I gotta say, it looks really cool. It's really well done. Tell the people where they can find it at and whatnot.
You can go to whitetail.com, which is Whitetail Clothing, or you could go on Instagram, whitetail/clothing.
Awesome, man. So did you grow up in New York City?
I grew up, I was born in Puerto Rico and was raised in the Bronx.
I was just in Puerto Rico last week.
Oh, yeah?
I missed the hurricane. Oh, you were there last week?
Yeah.
Where'd you stay?
I stayed in Salinas, but I was all around Aguadilla, Mayagüez.
Awesome. I went to San Juan.
I wasn't doing too much San Juan because it's too much tourists over there.
I got very burnt. I'm like peeling really bad right now. The white boys, you know, when they go out there.
I got a little color too. I'm white.
Swam with the little barracudas and stuff like that. I was a little scared. And then we went snorkeling and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, it was cool and jet skiing.
I'm a little scared of the water. It's
really?
Too many things underwater.
Way different than being in federal prison.
Oh, 100%.
So what was it like growing up in the city after coming? Well, when did you come from Puerto Rico?
Well, my family decided to come to New York City around the age of 7. And after that, we just decided to stay in the neighborhood, which was Brook Avenue. From Brook Avenue, we moved to Cypress on 141st. That's where I grew up.
And were you a big family? And did you have a mom and dad?
Yes, mom and dad, they're great. They retired in Puerto Rico. I have a brother. I have 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Were you guys close growing up?
Yeah, for sure.
And what did they do for work when they came to the States?
My mom was a nurse, and my dad worked for metal plating.
Played for metal?
Yeah.
Like a metal band?
Yeah, no, like metal, like plating the metal.
Oh, okay. Oh, like I got like in a factory?
Yes, a factory.
Okay. And was that a good job? Like, did you guys grow up?
It was decent.
How would you say you guys grew up? Middle class, lower class, upper class?
Between both, lower class and middle class. But it was a struggle for the family.
So describe the city, what it was like growing up during that time.
Oh man, the early '80s was unbelievable. It ain't like now. The drugs were so in the street. It was all infected area in the Bronx, abandoned buildings and stuff like that.
Wow. Do you want to just flip the phone because it keeps flashing? Yeah. We'll cut this part.
Let me just.
Yeah, it was just a flash, so I don't want to pick it up in the camera. All right, cool. So growing up in the city at that age, were you like out on your own a lot, kind of in the streets, or were you with your family, or did you have a close knit of friends?
We was close to the family. A lot of family used to come over, used to visit. It was a tight family. You know, we had always our tradition, Christmas, Thanksgiving. You know, it was tight.
Now, if your siblings were here today with us right now, and I asked them how would they describe you, what would their answer be at that age? At
that age. From 7 to 16, I was good, but after 16, I think I decided to do things that wasn't no good. I mean, they always gonna say I was a good son, but at the end of the day, I had my ups and downs.
Why do you think that was? Why at that age do you think you went down a different path?
I think that I seen so much going on in the street when I used to come back from school, and all these drug dealers wearing fly chains and driving these motorcycles, fly cars. That attracted me a lot, and I kind of thought that having that lifestyle, your family will be good, but it wasn't. It will destroy the foundation of a family.
So do you think it was like the money aspect of it, or was it more the flashiness, popular, being cool?
I think it was the money because it was 3 brothers, and we didn't have that flashy life. Like, we had to wait for a certain time to get a pair of sneakers, a shirt, things like that.
Now, your brothers, did they decide to take the same path that you would end up choosing?
Well, after me and my dad decided to do that, which I I was the one that created the problem. They got involved.
So you got into business with your dad.
Well, it's a long story, which I'm going to explain. I started, when I was 16, I started leaving through the fire escape window. And one time I was already starting dealing. So they found $5,000 in a box, in a sneaker box. That's the old school OGs. That's where you put the money at. And my mom said she was going to keep her mouth shut, but to make sure to take that back to whoever. Who I'm going to take the money to? It's my money. So the next time, my mom found $10,000. So she spoke to my dad. Your son has a lot of money in the box. I don't know what he's doing, find out. So I told him that the guy in the store downstairs was giving me the drugs. So he came downstairs with me and told the guy, "You're giving drugs to my son to sell. He's making a lot of money from now on. You got to give it to me." So now at that time, my dad was going through a situation where he had asked for the job raise and they didn't give it to him. So he ain't had no job, so everything collapsed after that.
Why do you think that people did use the shoebox for the money? Because I've heard that so many times. Why was that the method back in the day?
I'm not sure. I think people think that it was safe there and nobody would know that it was money in the shoebox or it was a lifestyle.
So where does it escalate from there? Where does it grow? Do you guys build like an enterprise from there? Are you guys growing it? Give us the rundown.
We created a racketeering case that landed me 18 years in prison. Also, my mom did 5 years. And we all our three brothers got 18 years each.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was like 24.
24.
So I had a little run.
So from 16 to 24, you're in the streets. What would you describe yourself as?
I was a leader. I always wanted to be the boss. You know what I mean? Not to try to impress nobody, but that was my target. I wanted to be like that drug dealer that I knew. You know what I mean? From my neighborhood. Now,
back then, do you remember guys like Unique and those types of guys, or is that a different area?
There was a lot of unique guys. A lot of unique guys.
And who are you guys, like, I guess, competing with or at odds with?
Oh, I remember like it was yesterday, we were competing with the Wild Cowboys, which is a gang that did numbers in the block. And the Wild Cowboys, they have a book out on them, and they were very notorious in my block.
And were they of violent nature? Did you guys have like violent beef?
Well, I'm not gonna, put them down like that, but if you read the book, you hear history about them.
Yeah, I've listened to some podcasts about them and whatnot.
The Wild Cowboys are very known.
Now, your group, was that a dangerous group that you were associated with?
Well, we didn't have a group. It just grew up as a family. I had my own spot. I used to collect rent. And my brothers just decided to put their drugs in front of my spot. And I couldn't tell them no, so I went with it. So it kept growing.
At the height of it, say maybe in your 20s, how much were you guys making a week? What was the worth of this?
I remember having a safe with $120,000. That was my first safe I had. I value about maybe $20,000 a day.
And that was a lot of money in the 80s and 90s.
To me, I was 19 years old, 16 years old, selling crack cocaine, and a crackhead was the one that taught me how to cook this crack.
How does a crackhead teach you how to cook that? You got to share that story.
I paid a few bottles of crack, and she taught me how to cook the best crack in the neighborhood.
So you guys were actually cooking it and making the product yourself?
Exactly.
So you weren't outsourcing it from anyone?
No.
So that was probably super profitable.
It was.
So were you guys in like those old style New York City like trap houses, like building?
Well, we was in a regular building. Is maybe the tenants there, maybe 50 to 100 tenants.
Wow. And then
we had the lobby locked down. We have a guy looking out, one in the front, one in the corner.
Did you guys have like the two apartments, like one's the cash and one's the...
Yes, we did had a 2 apartment, but there was a situation because we was living there that one of the runners ran upstairs to the apartment and they raided my mom's apartment, and that became a problem because at the end she wound up doing 5 years.
So when your mom had gotten raided, that happened before you had ever even gotten arrested.
Yeah, that was before she wound up getting probation. I went through a lot of pain and suffering because of that. It really bothered me. I kind of learned and understood that there was a problem from this happening of what I caused.
Now, was she in the life with you, or is she just like a bystander that got caught up?
I'm not gonna say she was a bystander, but being around me all the time, things happen.
So did you guys have a name you called yourselves? Were you like a street gang? What would you describe yourselves?
If you Google, New York Times had an article on us in 1996. They called us the Malabi Brothers, which that's my last name.
And what do you like how the New York Times described you? What do you think about that article, looking back on it?
I kind of, now that I'm more mature, it bothers me because everything is Google. Someone wants to know who you are, and that's how they won't know you by meeting you and get to know who you are now, but who you was in the past. And that brings a little issues to some things that I be doing.
No, I bet you back then you probably thought that was cool, or like a notch on the belt.
Of course, I thought I'm a gangster.
And is that how the people that you were around looking at themselves too, like gangsters?
Yeah, I looked up to a lot of drug dealers. Let's not say gangsters, because gangsters is different, you know what I mean? But it falls in the same category. I looked up to a lot of drug dealers.
Were you guys interacting with the mob at all during that time, or was that completely different?
I cannot say yeah or no, but there's some relationship.
But there wasn't a beef, like you guys didn't impose on their territory?
Nah.
Now, what were some of the principles as a leader of your organization? What were the principles you lived by every day?
My principle, it was death before dishonor. Always have your integrity at on point. You know what I mean? Is a loyal equals strength. That was my point.
Now, do you still look at that, have that same mindset now, like all these years later?
I still run with it. I don't know why, but wherever I stand, I want to stand with the respect that everyone gives me so I could give it back.
Because the world has changed so much. I mean, now it's, I guess, normal for individuals to tell or to not have that honor and get caught up and snitch as soon as they get caught.
Well, I understand. That's why now I don't play those games with the street. I don't touch the street. The only way I touch the street if I go to a club or a bar, but I'm staying away from that also. So with that being said, I don't want nothing with the street.
So being a young leader at that age, was it hard to run your crew? Or was there a respect issue at all? Or?
Well, I had to put my work in to get my respect. I had to do a few things, you know what I mean, put some work in. And not only beating, but shooting, stuff like that. But it is what it is. It's like you learn how to milk the cow.
Something I learned from being in the feds myself is that a lot of the young, like gang members and groups, those guys are kind of hot-headed, rash decisions. Was that like how you guys were back then, or were you more smart, cool, calm, calculated?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think we was just like that. When I came from the state to the feds, my attitude was mad at the world. But when you come to the feds, they basically calm you down. You don't calm down. They calm you down with the things that they do, to calm you down.
So walk us through like a day, like a day in the life. You're 20 years old. You're running this crew. What happens from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed?
Well, my day was getting up, making sure the spot had the goods, making sure 24-hour around the clock is running, and everybody is dealing correctly. No stealing, no making wrong mistakes, so we won't have no chaos with the police, and always respecting the people in the building and even the people that work for you.
Now, back then, are you guys worried about how the drugs are being cut? Like, there's no fentanyl back then, right?
Well, right now, the fentanyl, I guess, is destroying the drugs and it's killing people. But back then, it was so pure. There wasn't nothing to think about. If you had the right connect you'll get it the way it comes, and nothing was touched. Now it's being stopped.
So give us like the price breakdown on one cook. What are you guys making on that, and what are you selling it for?
All right, so let's say we have a pie of cocaine, 16,000. You make 50, 60,000.
So it sells for 16,000 one brick.
Yeah, at that time, and maybe if you get it overseas, you'll get it for 8,000 and then deliver to wherever spot, you know.
So were people still bringing in, like by the boats or smuggling it in on top of buying from you, or are you guys like the main source, or would you not even outsource it to people?
No, I wasn't. I was just dealing with a person directly, and I wasn't doing all that. I was making good money. I didn't worry about what he was doing, or I'm gonna change the way I'm. If I began like this, that's the way I'm gonna end.
So did you ever think about making it bigger, or you were happy with where you were at?
Well, I decided to do a second thing, which grabbed heroin. I brought heroin to my spot, and I was making more money also.
Now, some of the dealers that I interview had their own addiction issues themselves. Did you ever use or go down that path?
I gotta tell you, I never had an addiction in any drugs while I was dealing, but I could tell you that I understand and tasted the things that I would buy and purchase.
So you wanted to know what the product was that you were selling. Do you think that differed you from a lot of other dealers that might not even cared about what their product was, or if they even put out a good product?
Not really, because the testers was the crackhead and stuff like that.
So those trap houses, are they like the movies and the TV shows where there's guys like strung
the
out?
trap house in the movies, they probably add something to it, but it's similar to it.
So your mom gets caught before you. She ends up getting probation, no jail time?
Yeah, she get probation.
Do they try to get her? Do they know about you, or the authorities knowing about you at all, or no?
I think at that time they were building a case, and they were adding things to the case, and they didn't want to mess it up, so they left it alone.
So they didn't try to squeeze her at all to get to you?
No. At that time and era, it wasn't too much squeezing. You know what I mean? Now it's like, as soon as you get there, let me hear what you got to say.
When did you first find out that there was a case getting built against you?
Well, I used to sometimes see the detective, either FBI, regular detectives, parked in the corner, and they didn't care. So all I used to do is just keep it moving and make sure I didn't have nothing on me and stuff like that.
How would you spot these guys back then?
You could tell the car, the unmarked car, or their vest is on.
Do they approach you at all, kind of like taunting you or teasing you?
At the end, I was being approached like I could see the same guy in the same place with me.
And did you think in your mind, I got to stop, I have to pull back, they're on to me?
Well, I was getting prepared, but I couldn't stop what I already started. The fire was too loud.
Did that scare you at all?
I was worried about it, but I wasn't scared. I was like, if it happens, it happens. It's gonna come anyway.
Yeah.
So I was trying to retire, but I guess I didn't get the chance to retire because they must have knew this guy's getting his things ready.
Did you have like a number in your head that you knew you were going to be out of the game if you hit that number, had that much cash saved up?
You know, when you're a drug dealer, either you're a gangster or a drug dealer, whatever you call it, there's no price it's just something you're addicted to. No one is going to retire in the game of drugs. They want to keep going. And sometimes your lifestyle gets so expensive, so you want to keep it at the same price. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, tell us about how you were spending your money. And back then, was it okay to just use cash? Whereas like now it would be kind of a red flag if cash was being used.
Oh my God. When I was getting money, you could do so much with the money. They would not even register or apartment or, you know, to know that you bought this property. Even a car, you'll go to a dealer, you'll put it on someone's name, $15,000, $20,000 down, and they won't ask you. Now, it's you travel with $10,000 or maybe $5,000 is the limit, and you get pulled over in the airport.
Well, people look at you with just a few $100 in cash in a weird way anywhere.
Yeah, so, it's a lot different, you know what I mean?
Because there was no debit cards, credit cards, or maybe there was credit back then.
It was credit, but not credit cards and debit cards.
And were people using checks?
Yeah, definitely.
So did you have to clean the money at all, or did you guys just not have that?
I did that some, but I can't really speak too much about it. I did some, which I still have something from it.
So you guys were a business-minded operation. It wasn't just like your normal street dealers. You guys had some structure to it.
I basically had I had a plan to build a foundation and have my things when I retire or whenever I leave, but it didn't work out.
Do you ever see these interviews, or like I talk to guys where they're like, yeah, if I made that $2 million, I was out. Do you believe when they say that?
I don't believe it.
You think they would have kept going?
Yeah. It's like if I ask you right now, you get a deal, $2 million, you might open another podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, like when I guess it depends on your lifestyle and the situation and what's presented with you. But I don't think once you have that taste, that would be like if I stopped the podcast, what am I going to do? Yeah. Like I need something to do. I need something to fuel you. So when you apply that to drug dealing, it's like, well, what am I going to do after that if I just left?
Yeah.
And I feel like people that are ambitious and entrepreneurs can't just sit idle.
Yeah, I know.
Would you consider yourself like an entrepreneur back then? Was that a term that you guys referred to yourselves as?
I couldn't say that because it was drug dealing. But I kind of had an enterprise that made it look like I was that guy. If I would have come suited up with all this money, you might think I was.
Yeah, how are you guys dressing? Were you dressing? Well, what was the style back then?
We used to dress regular, but me in my events like New Year's, I have all my guys, all my workers, which I still have photos of that, with suits. I don't know from where I got this, but we all have suits, and we'll, in any celebrations, we'll have suits. We'll go somewhere and have a guy get your measurements, and we all look alike. And not alike, but we'll all look like we got money.
Were you guys carrying guns too? Were you guys always strapped?
Of course, 100%.
What was like the gun of choice back then?
My gun of choice is a revolver 357 because the 45 always a clogged. You know what I mean? The biggest gun I ever used and I ever shot was an M1.
An M1's a machine gun.
And M1 is a 30 banana clip rifle.
Okay. And you guys were just carrying around those?
Well, not the rifle, but the guns we used to carry.
And the cars, were you driving like Escalades, Cadillacs?
At that time, there was a lot of Maximas, MP3 Mazda, a lot of Mercedes, 190, and I had a lot of cars.
And were you dealing with anyone in different states like Connecticut or New Jersey? Or
I tried to do that, but it didn't work out. It was like it was too much chaos, and I guess the reason it didn't work out because sending drugs to another state it costs you more problems.
Yeah, but the feds caught up with you either way.
Yeah, 100%.
So tell us about the lead up to getting eventually busted and sent to prison. How did that come about?
Well, I had done a 3 to 6. My investigation was already had started already. So I don't know why they didn't pick me up in the state. So when I come back from the state, there's a guy who's in my neighborhood wandering around doing his little things or whatever, and I got involved with him. So I still have the connects or whatever, and I had a guy bring me 100 bundles of heroin, which is like 10,000 bags, and I served the guy with an undercover, and they got me 90 days later, I'm back in the state. So from there was a case open about somebody in the neighborhood, and they start snitching on us, and that's how the case opened, and they picked me up from the state to the feds.
Oh, so they reopened the case again while you were in the state? When you got busted on the state charge, did you think that was it and you were done, you were in the clear?
Yeah, I thought that was it. I said, oh, now I could do my thing. I'm done with these people. I don't owe them nothing. I gave them 3 to 6. I'm done.
You know, the feds are notorious for that, picking people up. I met a ton of guys on RICO cases where they thought they were in the clear. All of a sudden, they're strapped with that detainer. Feds are taking over.
100%. I agree with you.
Now, back then, was it better to be in state prison or federal prison from like the street perspective?
Well, back then, the feds is sweet. I've been in the state. The state food is trash. And coming to the state is like being in college. I mean, to tell you the truth, you had a buffet of food, fruit salad, all type of whatever you want, soda machine, ice cream machine. Where are you gonna find that in the state?
They used to have ice cream machines, didn't they, in the feds?
Oh no, they did. I thought you was gonna say state.
No, I've never been in the state prison. Wow. Yeah. So New York was a little bit tougher in the state for you. Of course. And you were what, 18 or?
When I went up, I was like 21.
21. Yeah. So when you never got out of the state back onto the streets to operate?
No, after the feds picked me up, I never.
So you went straight from?
I went straight from the high school to college.
That's a good way to put it. So what were the charges? What did they hit you with? What was the indictment?
I had a racketeering case, which is murder, kidnapping, extortion, all the above.
And how did you feel when you got hit with that case? What were you thinking?
When I got picked up from the state, I was surprised. I was wondering what was going on. I was escorted by a whole bunch of cop cars from Rikers Island to MCC, federal detention. And when I got there, I seen a cardboard with the three brothers, the mom, and the workers. So I said, no, this is the truth. This is going to be a long road.
Now, the day they pick you up, when you're in your state, are you in a jail cell? What was that like when they came to get you?
Yeah, I was in a cell. I think I was in C95, and they took me to the receiving room. From there, when I got there, 2 federal agents was waiting for me.
And are they telling you what's going on, or you had no idea?
They didn't do too much talking. Well, when we got to the precinct, they read my rights. You have a federal charge, a racketeering, whatever. Got the news, everybody was there.
Were you thinking, or was it just one charge, or was it multiple charges?
No, I kind of knew. I knew most of the stuff I had done, and some of my workers who created the indictment.
Well, how did you feel about the guys that were the ones cooperating with the government?
Well, I was destroyed, but at the same time, I was mad at the world. And not only that, having my mom being part of something that it was bad, it hurt me.
Yeah. And did you know what that time was going to carry, what you were facing with that indictment?
I didn't know.
Because it's a pretty serious charge, racketeering.
Of course.
Some racketeering.
Well, once I heard racketeering, and I went to the law library and I looked it up, and my brothers and they also explained to me. I was like, wow.
So did you have to get a paid attorney, or did you get a public defender?
We had a public offender.
And looking back on it now, do you wish you had a paid attorney?
Nah, it would have not worked.
You don't think it mattered?
It's 99% of people go to trial and beat it. 1% win and 90% lose in the feds. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, no, that's why their conviction rate's so high.
Exactly.
It's not because of their trial rate, it's because of everyone's pleading guilty too. They throw those numbers at you.
Yeah.
Did you know that you weren't going to go to trial right off the bat in your mind?
Well, I wanna thank my brother who convinced me that my mom would not survive us going to try and get in life, and her getting the amount of time she'll get for going to trial. So having my mom help me decide to take a plea. Plus, when she saw me, she advised me from the cell, crying, you need to take a plea so we can get over this. Because I was kind of a knucklehead when it came to taking a plea.
And what was the offer that they gave you, the first offer?
Oh my God, it started at 29. Then they went to 22, and when we got to 18, I had to just wipe my sweat off my head and say, let's go.
Was there a possibility it would have got lower, or do you think?
Nah, I don't think. It was too much. It was too much going on.
I'm surprised you got 11 years off of them, though, too.
18 years.
Well, they started at 29, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they knocked 11 down.
Well, nobody wants to go to trial. Not the government, not us. They're spending a lot of money. So, but they said it's either 18 or we start trial today.
Did they hit you with a Kingpin charge too, or no?
No.
Okay.
I wish, I'm glad that, not that I wish, I'm glad that they didn't do that, because that was a dangerous 848 Kingpin status, and it will take you to life prison.
Could you have been charged with that looking back on it?
Not really.
What do you think differed you from the ones that were getting charged with Kingpin? Is it a certain amount of weight you're pushing? Is it the level?
Well, there's more murders.
Okay. That's what's the difference.
There's more murders and probably more people involved. There was only 12 in my indictment.
12 murders in yours? Or
No, 12 guys, 12 people involved in the indictment.
Did you guys have a rule about violence and murders and anything in that nature as a whole?
Oh, what you mean? What kind of rules?
Like staying away from the violence? Because I've heard from a lot of people that violence brings heat.
At that time, we was all young and ignorant. There was nothing could stop anyone. If I tell you to don't do this, at the moment you have to react to the situation. So when we come back, well, oh, I'm sorry, I did it.
When you guys did do acts of violence, did you have rules at least that it wasn't going to be anyone that was innocent? It was always someone that was involved in the life?
One thing about me, I never wanted violence. It was like something I learned not to shit where you eat. So I really didn't want problems with people in my neighborhood or anyone. But when it came to having this beef with the Wild Cowboys and stuff like that, it got out of hand. It was like we didn't care what will come up. We'll have to, do what we have to do to survive.
Do the Wild Cowboys still exist to this day, or is that long gone?
They all in prison, you know what I mean? I mean, shout out to all of them, even though we went through, the ups and downs that we had. I respect them, and hopefully they good. If God's willing, they'll get an appeal or something, a reversal, so they could get back home. Hopefully now they more mature, like I have, and things change their life.
So when you got that 18-year plea deal, did they want you to flip on anyone at all? I know you didn't, but did they ask you to, or was there no one to flip on because you were the ringleader?
Well, this is the deal. They tried with my mom. They said, we let your mom go if you guys turn states and stuff like that. But remember, I told you my mom was the one that requested the pleas for her to take her plea and begged me to take a plea. So we wasn't gonna do that, and my mom wasn't accepting that either. Even though it was a bad decision for us to take all this time and go away, but we started something and we had to finish that way. It's so sad to say.
So your mom ended up getting fed time too?
Yes, she got 5 years.
So she got 5 probation in the state and then it turned federal?
Yes.
Okay.
No, she got 5 years besides she did most of the time with that probation.
Okay.
As time went by that they were doing the indictment.
Okay.
But she did 48 months.
In a woman's federal prison?
Yes.
Where'd they send
Danbury.
her? She went to Danbury,
Yes,
wow.
when it was a woman's house.
It's still a woman's
it's still?
a woman's camp.
Now it's a camp.
Yeah, it's a woman's camp, a woman's low,
Maryland.
and a men's low.
Yeah.
What year was she in there, in the early 2000s?
We got locked up in 96, 99. We got sentenced. So she must have been around the 98 to like 2004.
Would they have let you go to the Danbury Federal Prison because she was at the camp, or no?
Nah, they didn't let me.
I figured as much. They're too close.
I remember we was in MCC, and the only way for me to see my mom, and it's sad to say, I had to make something happen, which was a life-threatening in my life. I wanted some time with my mom before we go away, and I was in the shoe, and one of my friends, he didn't convince me, but he gave me an idea. He told me, Lef, your mom is in suicide watch the room is right next to it. Maybe you could pay her a visit. So in my mind, I'm saying, how am I gonna pay this woman a visit? What, the CO is gonna take me down there? He said, take one of the small batteries, swallow it, and they're gonna put you on suicide watch, and you can speak to your mom for 3 days. That would be your visit. So I'm young, I'm ignorant. I wanna make this happen with my mom. I decided to take a battery on Thanksgiving Day and pay her a visit. And I had the best visit of my life before I went away.
What happens when you swallow a battery like that?
Well, I swallowed a battery. They put me in suicide watch. And when they put me in suicide watch, they came and they took me to the hospital. They gave me a liquid and I shitted it. But it could have happened a lot of other stuff. It could have blew up. You know, acid reflex on your stomach could have caused you a lot of problems. Now that I'm older, I don't think I would swallow a battery.
Yeah, if you don't get it out quick enough, it can lead
for
to,
sure.
Yeah, so they got it out quick enough.
Yeah, they took an X-ray, and so when that happened, the warden came from his house. He's like, "Oh my God, it's Thanksgiving. You're making this happen. Why?" I said, "Look, man, this is the only way I can survive and do things and make things happen." And he was like, "You need to calm down. You wilding out. You want to be a barber?" He put me the barber of the shoe.
So how are you guys able to talk when you were in the suicide watch?
Well,
through the vents, or?
The vent is in the top. Let's say maybe 12 feet from the floor, and I used to get on the sink and talk to my mom. If she got to rest, she got to eat. She go on a break with.
That's pretty genius.
So it sounds crazy, but I had the best time with her.
I'm surprised you weren't able to like pay off a guard or anything back then to make it happen.
It's MCC is one of the most serious places in New York City.
I think it's closed now, right? Or are they temporarily
I'm not
closed
sure.
it? I was reading something ever since the Epstein situation.
But I always remember. I never forget that. I love my mom to death, and she knows that. And my family do. Up to this day, I give her anything she wants. I think I put her through a situation that was very bad, and now I'm trying to get back for all the things I've done. She's where my dad retired in Puerto Rico.
Do you think that your prison sentence would have been different if you didn't get to say goodbye to her right then and there?
Nah, I was still mad at the world. When I left, I was still wilding out. It didn't change. It was. I had a monster. I was carrying him. So it was just the attitude. Everywhere I went, it came with me.
Where did they send you for your first prison?
The first stop, I went to Otisville. Otisville, it was a holdover. And they also had inmates in there. And from there, my first stop was Leavenworth, Kansas City, which was the USP.
Now tell us about Leavenworth, because that's a notorious
Leavenworth,
prison.
I was there for maybe 2 months because, mind you, I had the state case, so they wanted to send me, as soon as I got sentenced, they made a mistake and sent me to the pen, but I had to go back to the state. So I was there by 2 months. So before, when, you know, they put a list up, who's going up where and what airlift and whatever, right? So when I got up, when they do the mail, that's when they put the list. Every day I used to check. So my brothers is like, "Yo, Lef, you going to Leavenworth." I'm like, "What?" So now I'm starting to hear all these crazy stories. You know, you're a gangster. You could be all the person you act or you are. But at the end of the day, you thinking the situations that can happen. So I have one of my friends that was there. Shout out to Will Love. One of my friends. He wrote me a kite and made sure that when I landed, I give it to the right person, which is somebody big. He has 2 life and 25 years in prison or sentence. So I got on the airlift. When I get there, I see this big house, bigger than the White House. I'm like, holy shit. So they take us to the hole because you have to be registered to see who's your enemy, who's not supposed to be here, and that. So I tell the porter, "Listen, I'm already anxious to get this kite out. I'm like, listen, I want to get this kite to such and such. I don't want to say the name. And he was like, oh shit, you know this guy? Where you come from? He's questioning me. Now, mind you, I know the guy and I know how much time he got, but I don't know how big he's in the prison system. But I already had heard about his name ring bells. So he was like, give me the kite, I'm gonna give it to him. So he gives him the kite. The next day, a whole bag of food. The CO opened the cell, and I'm like, yo, what you opening the cell? He's like, take that bag. I take the bag, man, food, commissary, cigarettes, and all that. So I put down for the yard. Now, mind you, you haven't been qualified to be with inmates anywhere. He puts me in his cell by him requesting the CO to put me in his cell in the yard. And I'm here talking to this guy with 25 years. So he's like, yo, what's up? I heard about you. You know, Will send me the green light. Everything good, don't worry about it. You might be going back to the state because you have a state case. And thank God I didn't make it to the yard. Not that I didn't want it to, because my PSI is good. And if you know the PSI, what a PSI is your probation statement. And, you know, I came back to the state and then I started doing my time. But Leavenworth was one of the prisons where they hold Army guys and the post office mailmans. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
I didn't know about mail, like what, corrupt mailmen? Or?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a certain prison for them.
Yeah.
So those individuals that you were describing those inmates with the life sentences, they have so much pull that they could easily get you in a cell like that.
Yeah, but with like when you say someone is family, they really got to believe what they're saying, and you have to respect the cop not to do something and get him in trouble. You know what I'm saying? There's codes and rules and regulation when it comes to that. So I guess the cop respected him and knew who he was in the compound.
Did you get to experience some of the politics at Leavenworth among the inmates, or were you not there long enough?
Well, the politics there, when I got there, the Latin Kings and the Mexicans was going at it.
Like that they had a beef for...
Yeah, they were going to war. There was a shootout with pool table balls. They even took the pool tables out.
And back then, there was gym equipment and everything, and the weights?
I believe so. There was weights, but they took them out because of the gang war.
I know a lot of them never made it back, the weights
and stuff. Yeah, a lot of USPs, they took the weights out.
Yeah, so you go back to the state, do your sentence there, and then go back to the feds?
Yes.
And where did you go back to the feds when you come back?
When they sent me back from Leavenworth, I went straight to MCC, to New York. From New York, I went back to Rikers Island. From Rikers Island, I went to Sing Sing.
I'm surprised that the state took precedent over the feds. I thought it's normally the feds.
That's
take
what
precedent.
I thought, but I figure that there was so many co-defenders around that they didn't want me in the feds. That's what I think, because they sent me back straight to the state.
Okay. And Sing Sing, is that still a federal prison, or is that a state?
No,
now?
that's a state prison.
Okay, so you went to Sing Sing for your state bid.
Yeah, but that was my holdover.
And Sing Sing's a maximum security?
A maximum security.
What was that like, or were you never on the yard?
That was crazy. Wow.
Tell us some stories from Sing Sing.
Oh, man, if I tell you a story, I went to the yard the second day after they qualified me, and in the early go back, coming back, I got stabbed. I got stabbed with an ice pick. Someone from my neighborhood said that I was involved and I had a relationship with a friend that killed someone related. And it affected me, the relationship and the friendship I had, to me getting hurt.
And why did they stab you?
Because of that. Because the person that was related had gotten killed.
And that ties back to you?
That ties back to me. I had a friendship with a guy who supposedly was involved with stuff like that.
And that was just enough to
Yeah, so I landed in the hospital for like 90 days. They have their own hospital. They took me out, but they brought me back. I was like 90 days key block which is a cell and nursery. From there, I went to Clinton. Clinton is a max, also a USP. I mean, not a USP, of state prison. So in the state, while I was there, I was in the annex, not in the regular prison. I was just a holdover there. So one of the guys came that were involved in doing what they did to me. So I'm like, oh shit, now we got problems. So he approached me with a razor and said, what's up? Well, you still got a problem? So, I acted like I ain't wanted no problem. I acted mad soft. I let it go. At nighttime, I approached my friends and I told them that were from my neighborhood, and I let them know, listen, where I come from, you flash a knife and you don't do nothing, it has to be taken care of. So they said, do what you gotta do. So they didn't believe me. So in the nighttime, I got a net bag, I got a brick, because I didn't want to hurt him with a knife or a razor, and I beat the crap out of him. They got me up out of there, took me to the hole. I was another 90 days locked up. Then I made it to Elmira, another pen. I met up with some guys or whatever. But that's how I did my bid.
When they did the hit on you, did you know it was coming, or was it unexpected?
Oh, man, I could feel it. I could feel the tension. I don't know, you've probably been in situations like that someone is going to get hurt. I don't know if you've been around that, but I could feel it, but I didn't know it was me. I kind of, like, what the hell is going on? Everybody's moving fast. They looking at you like you weird.
And it's not just one guy coming after you. It's multiple when they do a hit like that.
Maybe 4 or 5. And
one they're holding you down while the other one's hitting you.
Not holding me down, but trying to make sure the guy gets his shit off.
Now, when you say ice pick, explain to the audience what an ice pick is in prison.
Ice pick is a piece of metal, long, like a pencil.
And that's just getting stabbed repeatedly into you.
I got hit twice because I fought back.
Okay.
I was scared to die. Once a situation like that happened, you have to react, protect yourself.
Are these hits aimed to kill someone? Were they aiming to kill you?
Oh, it touched my lung. One hit me here and one in my back.
Oh. You still have the marks from them?
Huh?
Do you still have marks from them?
I have. It's not that big, but ice pick don't do that much hole, but it do damage inside.
Yeah, it's meant to really irritate you
I always said that stabbing a person is harder than shooting, because shooting, you shoot and it destroys you. Stabbing, you feel the wound.
Yeah, and you see those guys that do just the razors and do the slicing and the stabbing just with the little one.
That is kind of like shooting a person too.
Because that happens a lot at Rikers too. Just the slicing, the slashing is what is popular. Did you realize, was it a hard adjustment going from federal prison politics to state politics?
Oh, of course. It was like a change of lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What would you think is the major difference between the feds and the state, politics-wise?
The politics is over nothing. In the feds, you have to have a reason to have an issue or a problem.
And it's more organized in the feds, I think.
Of course, 100%.
You have to go through the proper channels. You can't do a hit without permission.
Well, this hit was already organized.
Okay.
It was already planned.
Now, was it hard for you going from a young leader of your organization to you're a small fish in a big pond in prison?
Well, I kind of understood there was other leaders, so I kind of carry myself as a leader. And when you carry yourself like that, you get to meet good guys.
And did you have aspirations to become a leader yourself in prison?
I didn't want to be a leader, but I wanted my voice to be heard. You know what I mean? I let that for other guys. In prison, I didn't want to be a leader. It's too geographic.
Do you think you already were starting to mature as you went through your prison years?
I think I was.
And what year do you end up going back to the feds?
I ended up going back to the feds.
What was your last prison in the state, and when did you transfer to the feds?
So from leaving Cayuga after I got hurt and I put in that work in Clinton, I went to, after doing 90 days in the hole, I went to Elmira. And in Elmira, I met some good friends. And there was a situation there that one of my friends, it was almost the same situation. Somebody got stabbed in the prison, and the guy went home and he still had a relationship with somebody inside. So I got put in a test. We was hanging out in the yard, and one of the guys says, "Look, someone just arrived." So I'm looking at him like, "What the hell are you talking about?" So we have a group that we always meet in the yard. This is Elmira, I forgot what they call it, but anyway, it's the yard. And they have the TV, they have the pull-up bars. So he tells me, "I brought out these knives. I want you to hold me down." So it was me and two more other guys. So the guy comes out, you know how we walk the yard. And the guy comes out and he tells me I'm gonna approach him. So we planned it before it. We was like, "Listen, you need to approach him and tell him you need a light, and from there you go on." So now I'm becoming to be part of something that I don't want to be. I'm gonna be part of a gang, which I don't want to be. But at the same time, these are my guys. These are the guys that I built for. You know what I mean? So when we get close to him, he see us coming. So he already has spoke to him, and he thought everything was squashed. He said, "Let me get a light." Once he got the light, he just got on him and started stabbing him.
Yeah, you in that situation, you don't have a choice. You have to roll with them.
Yeah. So now I become part of the guy's family, and they took the guy. They took me. They key lock us. From there, I went to 5 Point. From 5 Point, I lasted like maybe 2 or 3 months. And from there, when I seen the board, as soon as I seen the board, they let me go, they released me, and I waited for the feds, and they picked me up and took me back to the feds.
And how many years did you still have left with the feds when they picked you up?
I did like 4 years, so I had 14 years left. So now, mind you, I'm coming with this attitude. I'm coming with this guerrilla attitude to the feds. So when I get to the feds, I landed where my brother was at. So he's like, "Listen, man, you gotta calm down. This is not the place to be loud and wilding out and everything you see, you wanna be involved." So time went on and I matured out of it.
Yeah, it must have been a tough transition from that like war zone of the States to the feds.
100%.
Did they put you right in a penitentiary, or did you go to like a medium? Or
No, I went straight to the medium. I went straight to Schuylkill.
And that's a medium, right?
Yeah,
okay.
medium high.
So that was a lot different than your first experience in the pen.
Yeah, but I never made it to a low or a camp.
You did a medium your whole time?
My whole time in penitentiary.
Why'd you never get down to a low?
I think I had a lot of problem tickets, and that caused me to keep my points high, 16 to 20 points.
Who were you rolling with in the medium? It was with structured as cars back then too?
Well, in the state, I roll with the Cañonero. I'm officially Cañonero. Shout out to Baby.
And then is that group in the feds too?
In the feds, mostly I hanged out with the Spanish guys. Yeah.
And they, I know in the feds, in my experience, like in the lows, it's structured from cars. Like you had your New York car, your New Jersey car.
Of course, 100%. I also carry myself with the New York car. Being that you're loyal dude, that you kept it real, you have people that want to chat with you, want to, get to know you.
And that's a pretty powerful car on East Coast prisons in New York.
100%. Well, when I never knew how strong it was and how much environment, it gets everybody in trouble when it comes to the New York car. You know what I mean? It's either Puerto Rican, black, whatever you are, you have to be involved with the New York car.
Now, was the medium as violent as the state prison for you, or was it?
No, the medium was sweet. I liked it.
It was very chill, laid back.
Things happen. You have a lot of Mexican fights because they'll come from the West Coast, and you have these gangs that are not getting along and stuff like that. But everybody was carrying themselves good.
And medium, you're locked in your cell all day, or what's that structure like when you're in a medium security prison?
What's that?
Are you locked in for the cell most of the day, or how is that?
Only for count.
Just for count.
They have the unit court. They have the training for exercise. You have the school tutor. You're a porter. I didn't do that much. I like to work out and stay around.
And did you have a hustle at all to make money?
We did have a hustle. We did have a hustle. I was just speaking to someone that I was on the phone. He was taken out in a helicopter because he decided to do some dust in the compound.
He was doing dust on the compound?
Yeah, so we used to do our thing. I remember that it was close to going home, about 4 years to going home. My friend went on the visit, came back with a motherload, and instead of, giving the people what he picked up, he went and smoked a joint of dust and OD. And if it wasn't for that helicopter, he won't be talking to me today.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When did he get out of prison?
He got out right after me.
And what year did you get out?
I got out 2012. So now, in 2012, I decided to do my halfway house in Puerto Rico.
Oh, because the Puerto Rico, they do have a federal prison out there.
Yeah, but you know something? That was the worst thing I did. It was a lesson. When I went over there, it was worse than being in the halfway house in New York City.
All the
guys
halfway
are getting
houses.
smoked outside of the halfway house.
Killed.
For
what?
They probably were no good. They probably were thinking they're gonna take over the spot again. And over there it's no joke. Over there you get taken care.
Now, out of your 18-year sentence, how long would you say you did out of that? You did the full 18 years?
Oh man, I messed up a lot of good time. I did 17 years with 5 months.
That means you really annihilated all of your
I was
good
like
time.
kind of wild.
Wow. Looking back on it.
I was wilding.
Do you
I was
regret
mad
that?
at the world. I was mad at the world. But now that I see it, that I've done my time and everything changed, I have matured, I forgive a lot of people. I even forget the rats that were in my case. I'm not a guy to expose things and stuff like that. I don't do that on social media. And I don't really care what they did. But just know that I know that you're a fucking rat. You understand? But other than that, with that being said, I'm part of the community now. I do things to speak about good things. You know what I mean? I was the godfather of the Puerto Rican parade. I'm also giving back to the society.
Yeah, tell us how you've been able to rebuild your life after prison. What have been some of the challenges you faced, and what are like the principles you live by now, and how that differs from growing up.
My principles, well, not every drug dealer wants to get a 9-to-5 job, but that's the only way to change your life if you don't want to touch the street. And staying away from the street and maintaining a positive life and a good life, the only way is to go legit. That's what I do now. I work. I also have my clothing line. We shot it out in the beginning. And it helps me everyday life. It helps me to have the lifestyle that I used to live. I spent a lot of money, so that's the only way I could do it.
Do you ever wish you could take back how you grew up and the things you went through, or do you think it made you the person you are today?
I don't want to change that, man. That was a lesson. I wish I could, but there's nothing you could change. It just made me a better person.
Do you ever run into people from the past that are still going down that bad path, or has everyone pretty much come to the same conclusion?
Every day I have people. I have my surrounding is like that, but it's either we chat or we see each other and keep it moving.
What do you think about the young individuals that are trying to get themselves, because they think that gangster life is cool? They want to be how you were back in the day.
It's not worth it. Back in the days, you're making a lot of money, but now you only make to pay your rent or pay your car and stuff like that. It's not worth it. You're going to get 10, 20 years. The feds ain't playing.
I mean, the way I look at it.
And if you don't get 20 years, you're going to rat.
I mean, that $100K you say you make on a drug deal, now you get busted, you do 10 years, you could have made 10 times that,
10 times, 100%.
doing something illegal.
I was just talking to Chris about that. making so much money. Now it's not worth it.
I made more money, you know, like at working at Whole Foods than what drug dealers would work.
Not to put it out, I make $30 an hour, and I think that's enough for me.
That's great money. There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, and you can get overtime if you want to.
All
I'm
the
sure.
time.
Health care benefits.
Everything.
Drug dealers
everything.
don't have health benefits.
I have everything. Things that I didn't have when I was a drug dealer. I didn't have no health insurance. I didn't have. If I died, they have to get a cup and put some money in a cup to put me away. So I didn't have those things.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have credit now, and it's just a whole new world.
I got a good credit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Lefty, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again to Dazed Cannabis for having us. Looking forward to doing more episodes here, and looking forward to staying in touch. We got to have you come to the studio.
Of course. I have just one thing to say.
Yeah.
We asking clemency for Boss Bree Blanco. His name is Jose Colon. He's in Sing Sing Correctional Facility. He's been down 25 years, so every time he'll go to the board, he get hit. So we're just trying to free Blanco.
Does he have parole, or is he doing life? Or
I think he's doing life or 25. I'm not sure, but we're trying to get him out. We're doing a lot of things on social media, and
do you guys have like a GoFundMe or anything like that?
No, I don't. I'm not sure, but I put you on to see if we could do something for him.
Cool. Well, sounds good, Lefty. Thank you, and thank you for
having
me
here. I also want to thank Chris and his wife for giving me the call and having me in your platform. This is major. Shout out to Tyson too, man.
Yeah, shout out to
Tell
Tyson.
him I had some merch for him.
Absolutely.
All right.